Tucker Carlson may be willing to walk away from some of the millions that Fox News is obligated to pay him if that would give him the flexibility to have a prominent voice in the 2024 election cycle, including potentially by hosting a debate. That's according to people familiar with his thinking, and in a new report in the Washington Post talking about this. Tucker also apparently doesn't want to be tied down to a single medium like podcasts only, where some industry experts were predicting the conservative giant could potentially go next. So I found these details fascinating, and we don't really know how accurate they are because they're not totally sourced to anyone, but the thrust of the article is that perhaps, again, according to the Washington Post, Tucker wants to maybe moderate a debate, and according to the Washington Post, has already talked to Donald Trump about doing this. And you'll recall that Trump is not, so Fox is supposed to be hosting a debate. Trump is not happy about it. He's not happy with the RNC. He's not happy with anyone, but he has this very positive relationship with Tucker Carlson. That was clear when Donald Trump was reacting to the firing. He's like, what's going on? I don't get it. So that would be really interesting if something like that takes place.
It's interesting. It's out of the box. It's something that historically we have not seen. But for Tucker, the world is his smorgasbord. He has an embedded fan base. And regardless of where you sit in terms of liking him, disliking him, or being in the middle, which I don't think anybody's in the middle on Tucker, that doesn't eradicate the fact that he has more of a base than most people who are in syndicated television or cable television or radio or podcast. That just kind of is what it is. And I don't think that changes because he's no longer associated with Fox News. Beyond that, I find it interesting that he still has such a tightly knit relationship with former President Trump, considering the release of text messages and other things that he said that we saw came out during the Dominion voting investigation, where he said some pretty negative things about Donald Trump, and where Donald Trump is typically bombastic when people say attack-worthy things of him, he had absolutely nothing to say about those.
You've never offhandedly said you hate someone passionately, even though you get along with them great, and you didn't really mean it.
I don't hate my friends, but he was just, it was a little raucous, and I find it interesting that they can still have that type of relationship. But Tucker, I think, Tucker's a businessman above all, and I agree with him. I don't think that he should limit himself to just sole podcasts. The man has the opportunity to have multiple digital platforms, to, watch networks that aren't Fox News, basically clamor to get his attention or to get a contract with him in any form or fashion. He is also someone who has the ability to fundraise, create PACs, where essentially Republican candidates at multiple levels will come begging for his attention and his support because they need that level of a base that he provides. So he's not going to go away anytime too soon. I don't think that he's shuttered in any way by no longer being on Fox. Actually, he can make a much bigger name for himself and a longer staying play with multiple demographics in terms of age groups now that he is outside of just solely doing cable.
So apparently One American News has come knocking. Newsmax, according to the Washington Post, not only offered Tucker something, but kind of hinted at maybe a total rebrand of the whole property to be more Tucker, to have him more front and center. Glenn Beck at The Blaze said he would love to have Tucker join them. The Daily Wire people said they would love to have Tucker join them. Obviously, he could potentially do what people like Dave Rubin and Russell Brand and Glenn Greenwald have done, and Kim Iverson, our former co-host, gone to Rumble and started very successful shows with them. So really, it's as you say, it's all about what he wants to do. He may want, I would believe that he wants to, have a say in the direction of the Republican Party. That's really what he was doing on his show. And we talked about this on our show yesterday, that Abby Grossberg, this producer who's suing him, or suing Fox, is about the experience she had working for him. She was I saw her on Anderson Cooper the other day, and she was talking about the influence that Tucker was trying to wield over the House speakership selection, that he wanted to have Kevin McCarthy on the show and then have Matt Gaetz on and kind of and almost negotiate Kevin McCarthy's ascension on the understanding that what Kevin McCarthy is going to commit to doing. And CNN was, framing that as like a very evil and pernicious and undemocratic thing, even though I'm like, no, he's got influence, so he's using it. I know that's the influence everyone in media and politics wants to have.
That's the influence people would pray to have. The leader of the Republican Party has been and still remains former President Trump.
Yes.
The VP of the Republican Party is Tucker Carlson.
That's
I think that we
true.
have to be very real about where Tucker stands, and he is being very strategic and smart in understanding where his base is, where his influence is, and even though these offers are coming through from Newsmax, OAN, and various other places, I don't think that Tucker Carlson is going to leave the masthead of Tucker Carlson to essentially build up networks that are, quite frankly, beneath where he is. It doesn't make sense. He wants to wield power over elections. He wants to wield power over, not just at the federal level, and states as well. And he understands that his voice carries in so many different ways. And I don't think he's going to take that for granted.
Yeah, absolutely not. He has lots of opportunities to make money, obviously, but he's been well paid by Fox for a long time. If you have a lot of money, money is an important thing. But I think he wants to have influence. He has influence. He had influence in the slot he had at Fox, and I gather that he would want to keep that level of influence on the direction of the Republican Party. And also, it should be pointed out, even though he's been most successful lately as a cable news host, he's a really talented writer. Even I think people who passionately hate him and disagree with him have conceded in the past that he's a really good writer in long form journalism. He co-founded the Daily Caller, which is a online
and brought up a lot of Gen Z people into politics
Right.
and policy, and it lifted up those voices. I also think that his trajectory is very different. So when we see other people leave networks, we saw the fallout with Cuomo at CNN, and then he went on to do other things, but he was not a mainstay for the Democratic Party. No leader was calling on him for policy change or thought that any advocacy on his show was going to change things. Same thing that we saw with Eric Bolling, another person who unceremoniously left Fox News. He's at Newsmax. He's not really reshaping anything for the Republican Party. Republican leaders aren't waiting for his endorsement. That's not how that goes. Tucker is in a very unique spot that most people who've been in cable news would hope to be in, because his influence isn't just in television. It is shaping policy and procedure. People want to have him standing beside them because they know that brings votes, that brings people, that brings power. It also brings a ton of money. Other hosts have not had that ability.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, we'll have more Rising right after this.